make you embark on this sector? Yeah.
Okay, so I was born and raised in a Caribbean country called Suriname.
Yeah.
At a very young age, I'm originally from, I'm a mining technician. So I studied
Mm.
mining. At a very young age, I am entered the mining sector. So I was
Yep.
about 19, 20 years old when I started working in the mining industry in Suriname.
Mm.
And soon enough, at the age of 21, I was sent out as the first female expat for the company at a very turbulent time. My first assignment was in Chile,
Yep.
um, and it was a very turbulent time in the mining industry because there was not a sustainability or sustainable development or sustainable community development was not even a subject that was spoken of
Mm.
at that time. So my employer was facing some serious community issues down in South America, and basically
Yep.
they asked a group of young engineers who wanted to get involved in solving the matters and the issues. And that's basically how I got into sustainable development, and it all just transpired from there. How did that further down the track, 25 years later, translates into finance?
Mm.
So while working out in the field in some of the most porous regions and most challenging economical challenging countries around the world in various parts, quickly noticed that a lot of investments were being made in community development projects, sustain livelihood for the disadvantaged communities around the world, but not being managed very well, which lowered the success rate of those projects being sustained. So at some point, I felt it necessary as a sustainable development specialist um, to at least um, take up some more of the finance side of things, and
Right.
that's what piqued my interest in the subject. And of course, I went on to educate myself um, and to further specialize myself in finance. So that's
Mm.
the whole 25 years in a nutshell.
Wow, that's really amazing. You already captured the very essence of, your 25 years of journey, through how it all begins, and I totally understand and echo with your story of the mines industry that you shared at the very beginning. There's little to no sustainability standards at all, and coupled with the fact that this industry is prominently male dominated, right? So, from a female entrepreneur perspective, what were the challenges that you kind of feel when you first started in this mining industry? Yeah.
It was never an easy road to travel. When I joined the industry, I was 19, 20, barely had the life skills to be able to find a place in that male dominated environment. Yet I had a
Mm.
voice and I had opinions, and I needed to share what I felt that was right for the communities that I felt in. And I also felt that the communities that I worked in needed to have a voice, right?
Yeah.
Companies at the time, they only did community development and CSR stuff, um,
Mm.
for the photo ops. There
Yep.
was at that time, it was not really, it was a PR stunt. It was not
Mm.
actually about making a difference in the communities, and I felt that that message needed to be heard and come across. So sitting in across male dominated boards, often trying to justify the budgets and the investments that we needed to make in sustaining livelihood in the communities we were working in, um, that required a lot of emotional balance within myself,
Mm.
not to be overruled. And if my president of the board or my CEO would, make a statement, I had to make my case twice
Mm.
as more substantial to be able to um, convince them that it was the right thing to do and it was the right path to take.
Mm.
Often, often with a lot of rejection. So being a female woman in the industry, starting out as young as I did, with basically no resilience, no
Mm.
experience to life, you really have to yeah, go about it in a different way, in the sense that you have to protect yourself and not get emotionally involved.
Yes.
You try to separate in your own mind, in your own emotional intelligence, that you're there just to do a job. You have to learn how to deal with rejection, a lot of it,
Mm.
and not only when you're making a business case, but also as a human being, as a female in the industry. Because a lot of the times in the old days, women would get rejected just for the purpose of being a woman in the industry.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
I also spent quite a bit of time in the field, and that was never easy because even my coworkers, also majority of those were males,
Yep.
young technicians, young engineers, operators out in the field. Um, that was also a very big challenge. I would often be yelled at. A lot of I remember one time that they actually they shit in my helmet and put that back in um, my locker.
Mm.
And when I came on to my shift, I couldn't use my gear. I remember one
Wow.
time that my company vehicle was trashed. Um, so it's a lot of bullying. It's a lot of bullying that you have to overcome at some point. Um, but you build that resilience. I also know a lot of the female technicians and engineers at the time that actually walked off the job because they just couldn't handle the bullying.
Mm.
Um, but in a lot of ways, it built me. I got thicker skin throughout the years, and it most definitely helped me build my resilience, and put me in a better state of mind with myself.
Yep.
So that was my learning curve from it. Yeah.
Yes. Right. I truly respect your sharing your journey and the stories you've gone through throughout the course of your career. I'm pretty sure that it's not as easy as you've shared with us, but it's also filled with a lot of, like emotional balances that you just mentioned, right? And I truly respect those and especially those prominent and fearless, ambitious female entrepreneurs as you, right? So now let's
The
change
thing
the
is,
gears a bit, and
yeah, no, the thing is,
yeah,
Tan, at the age of
yes,
between 21 and 25,
mm,
nobody preps you for the ugly things of the world.
yes,
You're still very young, you're vibrant, you're energetic, and if you don't manage that in the right way, um,
mm,
your motivation, your spirit does get crushed.
right,
And there will be times that young women will go through that, and that is inevitable. But it's also how you deal with it, as a person. Yeah,
right, yes, definitely. We do always have the options to handle these kind of circumstances, right?
of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So now let's change the gears a bit, and we would love to understand more about Mind Services and also the inception story of the company. So Jenny, can you please share a little bit on the introduction about the company and how it formed at the very start?
Right. So the company's been around for about 20 years
Yeah.
now, and their core business started just a one-man show. It started out with uh, manufacturing,
Mm.
lifting equipment and materials.
Yeah.
So 20 years down the track, about 4 years ago, the CEO at the time approached me with a very heavy request. We've all gone through the effects or have experienced the effects of the 2008 financial crisis. And a lot of the SMEs had a very tough time, especially in smaller economies on this side of the world, the Caribbean and Central America. It was very challenging for them after 2008 to regain balance, and reset for growth.
Mm,
So being a company that's been a while around, and they have a niche product. They still do. It's still a niche in the market. Started to struggle financially after the financial crisis, and they were able to
mm,
carry on, and a lot of their personal assets and in were invested, which also put a lot of strain on the owners and the CEO's family's life. So 4 years down the track, or 4 years ago, basically mine services wouldn't survive if they had continued. Um,
mm,
so he approached me, and at the time I had already set up my consultancy in the Caribbean, Central America, and in Australia. So Grow Develop Measure is the name of the company, GDM. So he approached me with the request to do a full transformation of the company, and in the first stage for him was important to get the company out of default.
mm,
So we so I put the plan together, and 4 years down the track, we delivered in December 2022. We actually delivered the company out of default back into its first profits after 5 years.
mm.
Um, that was I think 22% profit after 5 years of being in the red.
Wow. Yeah.
Yep.
That's
But
very
with
impressive, I must say. Yeah.
you. But with that whole growth plan, or the transformation plan that we executed for 4 years,
Mm,
also came a lot of ambition.
yep.
It opened up the company to a lot more opportunities. We're at the forefront of developing the oil and gas sector in
Mm,
Suriname. Um, and with that transformation process, the company was opened up to a lot more opportunities, and a lot more being a lot, position itself as a prominent player for the new sector that is developing.
mm,
Uh, so once I delivered the company in December, I also
yep.
left them with a very good growth plan for the next 10 years.
Mm,
And eventually, the board of directors called me after the first quarter in
yep.
23, and they said, "Look, we need you to come back and execute this plan."
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So now we're actually in a stage of mine services from going to the one core item that we've had for 20 years, which is the lifting
Mm,
equipment. We're now expanding into inspections and certifications. We're expanding into shipping and transportation. We're expanding into harbor equipment, harbor cranes, mobile cranes. Basically, everything you would require to set up
mm,
properly set up the facilitation for the oil and gas sector. And I
yep.
have the advantage that I've worked in various parts of the resources industry, and petroleum being one of them with my previous employer. So I do bring not only my financial background into play in this whole new journey that we're embarking on, but I'm also bringing some of my resources development knowledge in play.
Yep, fantastic. So you mentioned about your projection for the company for the next 10 years, right? So in the long to middle, like plan, what are some of the revenue growth or revenue drivers for mine services that you are envisioning at the moment?
So the plan is to break up the growth from
Yep,
3 to 5 years. And in 3 to 5 years, we want to develop 6 business units, which the company is
right.
currently valued at 7 million US dollars as we
Mm,
speak today. And in the first 3 to 5 years, the plan is to develop 3 new business units. So actually have 3 separate companies, all with their own specialization and their growth plan, but adding to the
mm,
total value of 7 million to come to 10 million in 3 to 5 years. By that time, the oil and gas will kick off. We're expecting the 7 years afterwards to be significant for mine services as a supplier to the industry. But in 10 years' time, the end number stands at 52 million value.
mm. Yes, so growing from 7 million in valuation to over 50 million in valuation in 10
Yes,
years, right?
in
Okay.
10 years. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the plan.
Amazing. So, from your own experience, Jenny, what are some of the key learnings or insights in the petroleum, industry that you mentioned, um, based on your working experience in the past that you are planning to translate into the success of my services in the future?
So the oil and gas industry is not new to Suriname.
Mm,
We have had the state oil company since the early 80s. What is
yep.
new to us is the offshore uh, industry, part of the industry. So that
Mm,
means we all have quite a bit of a very good sense of how things need to operate onshore and how to drill wells and how to rehabilitate
yep.
old wells, what technology should be applied, how the refinery should run, the type of quality that we need to refine and manage from an onshore point of view. So
Mm,
offshore is a whole different ball game. So when you ask what are some of the was that the key learnings?
yes, that's
Yeah.
right.
Okay. So the key learning that we're taking away from this is how do we now translate that onshore knowledge into that offshore knowledge? And now we've quickly realized also within mine services that that is a big gap that we have to bridge.
Yeah.
Not only on a national on a company level, but on a national level, there is a massive bridge that we need to gap that we need to bridge. Now, the
Mm,
oil and gas offshore industry is not new to the Caribbean. It's been there with Trinidad forever.
mm,
So now the strategy, what I've spoken about, the 3 to 5 year plan for mine services, is to tap into the knowledge of our neighboring islands, Caribbean, Trinidad in this instance, to tap into their resources in terms of skills and knowledge, and develop that in terms of our local content on a company level.
mm,
So what I'm working on now is developing a lot of joint ventures and partnerships for us
yep.
to engage with industry peers around the region, but also in Brazil, um, because Brazil has a very extensive oil and gas sector also. So we're doing a
Mm,
lot of joint ventures, partnerships, negotiations around that to at least gain the skills and the knowledge. Um, we are not ignorant to the fact that we will not be able to supply all the expertise to the oil and gas sector because it's very specialized. Offshore is a very specialized industry. There are type of jobs that, you know, on a national scale, we can't even comprehend.
yep.
And my Mine Services wants to develop that particular area and contribute to the local content policy that the country is developing. So we're taking the lead in that. That is also part of the growth strategy. So we're partnering with various education institutes, um,
Mm.
bringing
Sorry, hello?
Is het van het haar kant uitgevallen?
That's okay.
Zijn internet
Hi,
vervallen.
sorry. I was just planning to text you. Is everything all right?
Yes, we got cut off.
Oh God. Yes, I was
That's
thinking
okay.
so
That's
as
okay.
well. Yeah, sorry. Okay. Is your internet connection better now? We can start. Yeah, we can restart. We can
Uh,
resume. Yeah.
yes, okay. So
Okay,
that is,
great.
yeah. So I was talking about developing our contribution to the local talent development plan.
Yes. Yes. I
Um,
missed you right in the part of education institutes, right?
yes, so we're
Yeah.
partnering with that. I've been lucky enough to have a pet project of my own with the University of Applied Science, where I've had the
Yeah.
opportunity to develop 2 years ago, develop a pet project, associate degree entrepreneurship. So I'm
Yeah.
going to utilize those resources to partner with Mind Services Suriname, but also with other industry partners to bring that skills and competence. And over
Mm,
the 3 to 5 year first phase of the growth plan, to at least develop our own talent pool. We
mm,
also want to give our industry peers the opportunity to participate in the program to develop whatever skill set they want to get into. The the industry is so diverse, it's so specialized, and we're not going to do all of them.
yeah.
We wanna at least develop the talent that is very close to the type of services that we want to offer to the industry.
Mm,
We're most definitely not getting engaged in everything, because I'm a firm believer that you are better off doing one thing 200% right than doing
yeah.
10 different things and failing at none. Um,
Mm,
so we're going to put our time and energy into developing a few very specific services, develop the talent that is required,
yes.
and then providing that for the long haul. While the partnerships with the education institutes should sustain that talent development plan going forward.
Mm, yep. That's wonderful. And since you also mentioned about value creation for stakeholders, here I would love to understand more about how you has incorporate sustainability and social responsibility for my services as well. Yeah.
I think not just for mine services, but I think for
Mm,
every company, having a uh, sustainability values adds adds to everything that the company believes in, that the company stands for. So
yes.
sustainability and CSR is a very crucial, um, one of the cornerstones of the company going forward.
Mm,
If the younger generation today, that are developing and entering the labor market, they have different values from where we started 25, 30 years ago. They want to
yes.
work for an employer that is ethical. They want to work for an employer that has integrity, that demonstrates integrity. They want to work for an employer where they feel safe, where they feel heard,
Mm,
included. So the world has changed. The labor market has changed. The requirements for coming to work for a company have changed.
yeah.
And for a company that is, going from being a small medium enterprise into a large corporation, I think it's one of the building stones, one of the cornerstones that we need to focus on, and we did that with Mind Services. So we have adopted a few. Basically, what we did is we sat around the table.
Mm,
Uh, with the management and the employees, and we said, guys, what is important to you? Okay, because this is not something that the senior executives should decide over
yeah.
coffee. This is something that it needs to represent, all layers
Mm,
of our organization. And there were some critical points. The ma- the majority of our employees have a very big heart and a very big love for animals.
mm,
So we said, based on our corporate social responsibility, we want to at least develop a program that looks after fur babies and cats and pets. Um, but we also want to, we're very aware of the damage that the industry is causing. So that's more on a social level. Um,
mm,
Let me finish the social part. So we
yeah.
definitely, in terms of CSR, want to support. sterilization projects and care for dogs and what do you call it? The asyl?
Um, I see it in het Engels. The dog shelter.
Yes, for the
Shelter.
shelters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's one. The second part being so we also adopted the zoo, part of the zoo. Um, so we have something on animals going. We want to do something with our seniors and our elderly. So we're supporting various foundations for the elderly.
Yep.
And we also made that into a employee engagement program where our employees actually go to the elderly and they they do the stuff that needs fixing, like painting, the cleaning,
Yep.
the gardening. So that's on the social side of things. Now, on the business side of things, we are very conscious of our customer base. Our customer base is the resources industry, and it's
Right.
inevitable. Damage is going to be caused to the environment. Now, we firmly believe that there are more sustainable ways in which we can execute our processes, and how we can, and the type of systems, and not to forget the modern technology that can be applied to operate less damaging to the environment. So that is
Yes.
definitely something that we are going to focus on going forward. We've already engaged in a very small project, which is a company that we set up called Kapasi. Kapasi makes waterproof bags. We're actually the only company. The concept of waterproof bags is not new to the world, but it is to the Caribbean and to Central America. There are no factories for waterproof bags. So we said, after having built up a massive um, mass of what do you call it, rashes,
The
leftovers
leftover.
from patio covers, boat
Yep.
covers, the truck covers. That's all made from a material, polypropylene, which is tarpaulin. And they were just stacking up because they are all custom made. Yep. So we get a lot of small bits and pieces. Now, Tan, you can't just dump that anywhere. It's still plastic at the end of the day.
Yes.
So
Correct.
we sat around and we said, okay, what is it that we can actually make from this material? So every little piece that is left from the main product, we actually manufacture, we cut that up in small pieces and we manufacture waterproof bags from it.
Correct.
It's one time, if you, it's such an excellent product the way it's manufactured. And I'm not promoting sales because that was never the intention of Kapasi. But the way it's made, it's once you have one, you really don't
Yep.
need. It's a bag for a lifetime.
Yes.
So
Right.
it's
So
it's not.
trying to create a circular
Yes,
economy within the business, right? Yeah.
within the business,
Yes.
but just to at least be able to make something durable, practical, sustainable, um, that people can use for a lifetime, and not having to dump the material, the leftovers, just anywhere because it's still plastic at the end of the day. So that project's been going on for about 6 years now. Um,
Yes.
and Kapasi is very popular. But it's just one out of the so many projects that we think we can actually reuse our materials, recycle our materials, and put them back into end consumer products to be used. And that is basically from the business side of point of view how we want to manage our sustainability going forward.
Yep. That's very fantastic. I mean, you mentioned at the very first of the question the very diploma of trade of the trade-off between sustainability, impact creation with financial returns, right? Which I think a lot of like small and medium enterprises or even startups, they kind of be stuck in that diploma, right? But now I think Mind Services has also incorporate sustainability and CSR into into your business strategies, and make it values for the company from different layers, right? And that's really, really amazing to see, like how you kind of incorporate that kind of values within the business yourself. Yeah. And Jenny, can you please share a little bit more about your leadership strategies, how you manage different, departments, and, trying to encourage the employees to stay innovative and committed to the work? Yeah.
So to at least keep them committed,
Yes.
being part of something that means something.
Yeah.
Um, it's important for me as a leader to bring that into the workplace every single day. So my leadership style for that end is very inclusive. I do spend a lot of one-on-one time with my employees, in the sense that we do get together, um, also after work, just to have a quick chat. They know I'm very busy during working hours. It's very
Mm,
hard to find time, but I still make the time because I do feel that it's important for them to feel that they're being heard, their concerns are
yeah.
being addressed. Um, uh, and that I actually do something with that information, because it's not that they're not complaining, they're voicing concerns, and as a leader, it's for me to take that concern and do something about it, manage it,
Mm,
or either prevent it to spiral into something more serious. So
yeah.
inclusive is definitely one of the leadership styles that I embrace.
Mm,
Communication is very critical in my book. I'm a very transparent leader, and I like to, at least I encourage that with my peers also. I also um, support that in my peers.
mm,
It's always, communication is a very challenging um, attribute in the business environment for men, particularly. But
yes.
having coming out of a male-dominated environment, I think I found a few strategies how to. I wouldn't say manipulate is not the right word, but
Mm,
how to
yes.
direct my male peers into communicating more transparent and more open.
Mm,
Um, Also, what I try to teach my skilled employees at least is that whatever thoughts you have in your head, whatever experience you have in a job, does not necessarily mean that your coworker or your peer has that
mm,
same knowledge or that same approach. So only by
yeah.
communicating directly, not through WhatsApp, not through an email,
Yes.
that one on
Verbal
one.
communication.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, one on
Yep.
one.
Mm,
And that is important because people also need to develop a sense of intuition when doing business.
mm,
Intuition and trust are so important, and that is part of my leadership as well. I'm a person of my word, and I try to embrace that in the workplace also. Um, it's so basically I'm trying to live my own values, and I
yeah.
try to teach my people that as well.
Mm,
But honesty, integrity, and transparent communication, I would say those are the most critical things that we values that I embrace in my leadership style in the workplace.
yes. Wow, that's very wonderful. Transparent communication, integrity, inclusive, right? Leadership styles. Yes, that's really captures all the leadership that you mentioned. So I think Jenny, that also the very last question that we have in this interview as well. I think it's been a very effective call, and thank you so much for sharing such detailed answer to all the questions that I have today. I very valued your responses. If there's anything else about my services or about yourself that you'd love us to also include in this edition, please let us know. And we'll make sure to incorporate it in the draft story as well. But otherwise, I think it's been a very super comprehensive and yeah, I truly admire your story and the journey that you have come through so far. Yeah.
Thank you, Tan. It was
Yeah.
lovely speaking to you also.
Yes. Thank you. Right. Anissa, I think I'll take the first step with you. Our team will start on the editorial process, and we'll then circulate back with the draft to you. and Jenny for your final review and confirmation. Yeah.
Of course.
Would that be all right? Okay,
Yes.
great. Thank
When
you
is
so
your
much.
first edition? When is the edition expected to be published?
Yeah, let me check this with my teams again. We haven't I haven't had the final confirmation from them, but I think they surely have some tentative plan for the edition. I'll sure update you via email with that.
Yes. Just
Okay.
please keep Anissa posted. It
Yes,
was lovely
all right.
talking to you, Tan. Thank you so much for
Yes.
your time.
Yes, sorry for taking an extra 10 minutes of your time. I
That's
know it's been
fine.
super long. Yes. Yeah,
All right.
thank
Have a
you.
lovely weekend and we'll speak
Yeah, you
soon.
too. Have a lovely weekend as
Okay.
well. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.